almost 3,000 years, I have grown greatly. I have changed, innovated, and reshaped myself. I took the world by storm. I conquered it, surrendered to it, but have always rose again. I was the first to be home to 1 million people. I was the first to embrace a multicultural society. The first to create a network of roads which connected people and new ideas. I nurtured leaders and visionaries. I am a melting pot of cultures and beliefs. I hosted gatherings and major international events. I am known in the world for the richness of my cultural and scientific research. I have built wondrous technological and scientific hubs and a solid and diversified production system. I am the cradle of the largest number of parks, natural reserves, and the biggest agricultural system in Europe. I am open-minded, inclusive, dynamic, and sustainable. Throughout the centuries, I have reinvented myself many, many times. My name is Roma, and I am ready to be reborn again.
Good afternoon. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We started in this way for 2 years along a very intense journey of education activities with the Venous Lymphatic Ward International Network Foundation, and it's not by coincidence if we have the Amerigo Vespucci, the pride of the Italian navigation, in a special moment in which finally we are together connecting experts, informing patients. Under that roof we have watched so many times starting so many educational activities, connecting so many friends and colleagues. It's always whom you are traveling with, not just where you are traveling to. So there is no chance I'm going to start this travel without travel mates I consider family and wonderful examples of professionalism in the person of Professor Bottini from Buenos Aires and Professor Willy Chi from University of California, Davis, but not before having on stage with us the hosts that we all have to profoundly thank for the hospitality in the Italian pavilion, the Commissioner General Paolo Glisenti, who I invite to join us on stage together with Professor Bottini and Professor Chi. Professor Younis Kazim has been so nice to join us today during the 10th International Inter-University meeting in Phlebology, Lymphology and Aesthetic, an initiative that gathered together a network of more than 40,000 colleagues, experts in venous and lymphatic disease. I have to start asking for an apology, because we are wearing T-shirts, despite the fact that we are academics. But we are also believing in what Anatole France once said: real learning happens just when you're having fun. And indeed here we are having fun in this picture with a giant in our field, Professor Caprini, who was supposed to be with us today, teaching everybody about the importance of the topic we are dealing with today. Indeed, the topic of this journey of 90 minutes will be our venous circulation and the importance it has in many, many people around the world, as you will see from the data. It is the Venous Lymphatic Ward International Network Foundation bringing to you this project, an organization that is no-profit and present worldwide, thanks to the collaboration indeed of Professor Chi and Professor Bottini. The journey in my specific case starts from the University of Ferrara, that is indeed taking us here after a long virtual journey that included many educational activities to counteract this pandemic that was biblical in its giving us many difficulties, but also opportunities in connecting in a time in which we could not connect in person, starting with the COVID project that is indeed chronic on-site venous insufficiency damage control. And I take this chance to deeply thank the ones I see here, because we have an audience that is exceptional in the academic quality and the educational activities. So deeply thank to all the ones that have understand that in reality COVID taught us the risk of thrombosis, and with the risk of thrombosis also the risk of misinformation associated to thrombosis, and with that also the risk of misinformation in vaccination. So a new word that has been explored through a journey that has been made possible by a great teamwork, for which I once again declare that it's not just where you're going, but also whom you're traveling to. So I deeply thank all the academics who are here today with us in what is really making us proud to be Italian in this amazing pavilion done, as you all know very well, in this network of thousands of people by the three upside-down ships that are really representing the journey we are all having around the world. In this case, to talk about vein and lymphatics. But why should we take the time of institutions that are following these activities talking about veins and lymphatics? Well, I think we gave these answers during the Vein Week. The Vein Week was a global initiative that reminded everyone that we usually don't have dilated veins in our upper arms, we have them in our lower limbs. And that's because we evolved from quadrupeds to bipeds and then being overwhelmed by the force of gravity. Now, this is associated with important conditions that can affect significantly the health of all the population. Indeed, it's like flipping a coin. We are talking about a condition, the one of a venous disease in the lower limb and also lymphatic, that is present in half of the population. So just in this room, half of us will experience some concern about that. And as we started also 15 minutes later, I think this is a difficulty that is giving us the opportunity to remind the Italian 15 minutes of academic delay. And indeed, in terms of academics, you see that there are always references in all the slides I'm putting out there. So for the experts, you can check it out in the literature that is there. Women, of course, know how frequent it is, because up to 84% of women are experiencing cosmetic issues, so-called telangiectasia, spider veins, but they are not so experienced in knowing that 26% of them are actually having issues that are deeper than just a superficial cosmetic issue, for which experts are here at disposal to provide a proper education. On the other side, we have 3% of the population presenting ulceration, so a lesion in the skin that they think is just a normal lesion, but in reality is a lesion that is coming out from a venous disorder. Now 3%, this means that tonight when we will walk through these amazing pavilions, count, and every time you get to 100, you know that 3% of them are exposed to this condition that, by the way, is costing to our nation in Italy 2% of the national cost. So we are talking about an initiative that is dealing with the institutions also in terms of cost effectiveness in a time in which the cost must be regulated because of the pandemic. Now, it is fundamental to have representations, as we have today, from the Italian Board of Physicians with Dr. Noce, because the worrying data is that 50% and or more of the colleagues, for example, from family medicine, are aware of the proper guidelines to treat this so common condition that, I remind you once again, in terms of costs, is taking 10.4% of the working day loss. So we have also representations of big companies that are wasting energy and funds in not managing properly the disease because they are losing working days. And as I said, 2% of the health costs. The turtle over here is reminding us that we are all aging, we are all becoming a little bit more obese, we are all becoming more sedentary, and now you understand why we put out that project about chronic on-site venous insufficiency damage control, because with the lockdown, with the sedentarism, there was even an increased risk. Sum that up to the fact that there is a venous disease associated with a potential thrombotic risk, then you understand why we are wearing this T-shirt. Because indeed this T-shirt has to deal with the leading cause of preventable death, which is thrombosis. Now, this is preventable. So if we are in a Universal Expo, we are here together with 190 and more countries to build a better future. We are here to connect minds, create a future that is evidence-based. So this is preventable, and it is evidence-based that we can prevent in the proper way. So the gentleman you see in this T-shirt is the one that provided to our community a score that is stratifying the risk so that we can protect our patients, treating them as friends, never killing them of thromboembolism. Now, what a horrible, perfect time COVID pandemic is to talk about misinformation. It is reported in our literature that we have up to 40% of medical websites containing potential fake news shared hundreds and hundreds of thousands of times, as you see over there, the number from this publication from a Polish group. But even more worrisome to me is the fact that if you look at reports like this, you will see that the majority of people is not actually getting news from the official sources, but from the social networks. So you see towering there the results of Facebook, YouTube, and so on. Basically, according to the literature that I'm quoting in this paper from PLOS One 2015, you see we are obsessing to a vertical reliability that is collapsing in front of an horizontal misinformation. This means that the huge professors we have here, this super selected group, and this is a chance to deeply express my sorrow in not having the hundreds who have been involved in this project, but of course COVID is a time of restriction, but these are the people we should rely to. This is the vertical apex that we should touch rather than relying on this horizontal misinformation of the social media. We have with us Professor Rahul Jindal from Chandigarh, an incredible example of professionalism. Interesting academic activities are done in India, but not from the 24 fake universities they have. There is a report about fake university even that, of course, has to be counteracted. It is reported in the literature that, of course, we have to focus our attention, first of all, on health when we are talking about misinformation. And that's why we are here with 83 institutions from 69 countries, all continents present, at the end of a long navigation of 2 years of preparation with online education initiatives to finally stop watching this amazing building from the top, as we did at the beginning of each and every single webinar, and enjoying the journey from his own belly. Basically, the project has been the creation of a safety net against misinformation that is, of course, there to protect the patient. And we are talking about the scientific societies, as I mentioned, academic institutions, and I once again thank Professor Bottini and Professor Cid to always cheer up with a good spirit despite their so high academic level, to give a message in a palatable way for our patients, so things that they can remember, like a T-shirt, for example. Because indeed, patients' associations must be involved, as we have been doing, because they are the final recipient of this message. If not, why are we doing that just to have a talk during a nice meeting? Global communication channel. So I can really not find words to really express my gratitude to Dr. Glisenti and all the ones who allowed us to get in such a prestigious place. We are used to say in Italy, unfortunately in this case, pochi ma buoni, so few but extremely good ones. So if you are sitting over here, you are really representing an elite that is standing here on the base of so many colleagues. We are deeply thanking for having allowed us this communication today. And indeed, this is in line with the True Care project that you know is the heart of the publication that will go in a very prestigious journal following the meeting we just finished, but not forgetting indeed about the patients, because the 12 chapters of this document dedicated to experts will then be published in a multilingual booklet. And what a better place than the Expo to talk about multilingual, and what a better day than one in which we met with Professor Al-Qaeda, introducing also the Arabic language in these documents that will be available in a digital platform online for everyone. Always touching important topics in terms of equality, like the one of the geographical representation that is indeed present in this project, because we have representation from all continents, and also with special attention to the gender equality, because we looked also for academics, of course, in the part of the female gender. I'd like to take this chance to profoundly thank the United Nations for the letter of appreciation to the initiative, and I'd like to congratulate them because it's written over there that the appreciation is because we are talking about the veins, but also about lymphatics, and we will have the huge honor of having the highest star in the field for us, that is Professor Roxon from Stanford, giving you a award later on. So this is a 90 minutes of call to action, basically. We are not here just to show off the project. The real reason for which we are here is to use in a constructive way this wonderful ship to take into the evidence-based world all the public that is following us, and indeed I invite all the public to enjoy the website of the VWIN Foundation, where you can find indeed a part where you can report eventually encountered misinformations or doubts you have about the topic or false claims you have witnessed. I invite you to have True Care, that is an acronym of Together Reporting Unbiased Education, Certification, and Regulatory Education. Because indeed certification and regulatory is so fundamental in terms of validation of the proper devices and drugs we are using, and that's a campaign that is involving public, general medicine, and specialists. There is an interesting regulation now in Europe that is regulating how we manage the medical devices, and there are huge experts here for which they better talk about this in my place. But just to give you an easy number, 2,124 were filed indeed for safety notices over a 5 years period. Now this means that we have these new devices coming into the market, and it's our responsibility to have proper surveillance as experts. It's our responsibility to inform the patients that there could be serious consequences if these products have not been properly validated. I'm talking about devices, but I'm talking even about stockings. I'm talking about pills that you think might be just something that you buy in some shop, but in reality they're having false claims in it. I think it's a moral responsibility to take a legal action against issues like this one, because I'm sure that in all our houses, at least 1 out of 2 of our family members are experiencing that. So it's very close to each and every one of us. So close that you can easily be exposed to real pictures like this one from a real commercial that, for courtesy, I didn't mention as a drug, that is reporting, quoting what is in the website, total problem resolution of the vein that you see over there, so total disappearance, do not undergo surgical or endovenous procedure. This is out in the web in this moment. So the reason why we are doing this navigation in this amazing ship of the Italian pavilion is to stop a dangerous surfing on a web of venous lymphatic fake news, remembering what Mark Twain once said, a lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its show. So I like to take this chance to deeply thank all the ones who put the shoes on to travel with all the difficulties from all the parts of the world, because we have a representation of all continents, and of course the captain of the boat, that is Dr. Glisenti. And of course, as I'm coming from the University of Ferrara, one of our captains in the University of Ferrara is Professor Capitani, very nice person and very close to me, for which I asked to play the video of Professor Capitani.
Hello, let me say first that I am delighted for the opportunity to come to you with warm regards from the University of Ferrara, a prestigious academic institution since more than 6 centuries. You might know that in Ferrara we have a symbol for the town, which is a castle, a huge, wonderful castle. And I believe that the university should behave like a castle, hosting the real research and acquisition of real data, and in the same time fight against misinformation attacks. This, I think, is the same mission of the Winter Dubai project, which involves, as you know, many universities, a number of scientific societies, and many renowned scientists from all around the world, generating remarkable scientific advancement and promoting significant improvement of the skills for disease management. I'd like to congratulate the project Connecting Experts, Informing Patients, particularly in this difficult COVID time of increased thrombotic risk, and to thank all the organizers of this meeting. Among them, let me mention in particular the president, Sergio Giannesini, also for what he is doing for the promotion of the international standing of our university. I look forward meeting you in person soon in Ferrara for connecting minds, creating an evidence-based future in line with the Universal Expo Dubai vision. Thank you for your attention.
And it is indeed us deeply thanking Professor Capitani, because he's one of the giants of whose shoulders we are standing on to have this long journey. And now we start a little bit of an academic round around the world, and then we will have a discussion. So we go now to Porto University, because we will have a representation of academics from the different continents. So we move to Professor Armando Mansilla video with a message for all of us.
Thank you very much for talk about prospect.
Thank you to Professor Sergio Gianesini and to the scientific committee for this kind invitation to join the outstanding faculty of this session devoted to the global experts' perspective in the venous lymphatic world. Superficial and deep venous and also lymphatic diseases are a significant medical problem for the patients and also a substantial burden for our healthcare systems. Events like this one are unique opportunities to better improve our knowledge in these fields, to discuss clinical and scientific approaches in a worldwide perspective in order to apply the result of these fruitful face-to-face and online discussions to a national and a local level. Another goal for all of us must be the development of new tools in medical education and emphasize the importance of the permanent accreditation of our centers and our practices. It was an honor for me to share the floor with so many friends around the globe and benefit for their experiences, messages, and teachings. Thank you for your attention.
And with this, we deeply thank Professor Mansilla. And we now fly all the way to Asia, Japan, and we go to Professor Mo Makoto from Yokohama University.
Thank you very much for talk about perspective in the venous lymphatic world from Asia. My name is Makoto Mo. Thank you very much for talk about perspective in the venous lymphatic world from Asia. My name is Makoto Mo. Vision of the Windmeter Dubai is to create a consensus document against fake news in phlebolymphrology. Hippocrates is also known as the father of the compression therapy for vein and lymphatic expert. His oath is simply first do no harm. The Wim vision harmonizes with the Hippocratic oath completely. We have the same kind of pledge in Japan. Iwajin Jundari. Medicine is a benevolent art, center of the medical ethics in Japan for a long time. The win-win vision also harmonizes with Iwajin Jundari completely. Origin of the word is not clear, but can be originated from Chinese politician and Japanese physician. In other words, this word comes from Asia. At the last of my talk, I deeply appreciate for the hard working at the Windmeter meeting office for great success of the meeting, especially for Professor Sergio Gianesini. Thank you very much.
And with this, we thank also Professor Mo Makoto. And from Asia, since we have another huge figure, we double the presence in Asia, and we invited Professor Liu Enzi from Putra University to give us a remark.
much for the opportunity to come up to the stage. I was at this expo when I first arrived, and I went to many pavilions, and my say Italian pavilion is one of the best pavilions I've visited, so congratulations. You know, the way the expo is organized here is based on 3 themes. One is the mobility, one is opportunity, and the one is the sustainability. And this is exactly what WeWin is doing. Mobility, because for many years I've been attending many meetings, either in Asia, in Europe, or in America, and it is the first time that I'm able to attend a meeting that's attended by 5 continents. They have simultaneous Chinese translation, Spanish translation, and maybe perhaps in years to come, Arabic translation. So mobility, they have achieved that. What about opportunity? Now, in those days, when we have a meeting, only people who can afford the airfare, and can afford a hotel, afford a registration, they go to attend a meeting. But these days, with this social media, we can reach people as young as 8 years old. We can reach people as old as 80 years old. So this is a tremendous opportunity for us to educate the public. And what about sustainability? I think the most important is if we are able to sustain, we must be seen to be doing good. And I think I'm very happy that I'm associated with this organization that's fighting fake news. So if we are able to educate the public, do good for patients, I think we have got a long way to go. With that, once again, thank you very much.
And of course, we could go nowhere without proper gender equality representation, and we could not be more blessed than an amazing group that you see reported over here. So let me take the chance to name, just for naming a few of the ones highly involved in this, Professor Raymond Martinbeau from Canada, Professor Julianne Stoughton from Harvard, Professor Lorena Grillo, who is like so active in so many activities, and Chantal Aguero, Professor Chantal Aguero, who is with us, and many, many others. But we will get to the stage indeed with the first one who started all this activity, that is Valentina Noce, who is in representation also of the legal world in Italy for the gender equality, Erika Menegatti, heart, soul, arms and legs of this organization. And since I'm wearing with pride also a Georgian bracelet that has been given to me by Professor Lazarashvili, I think we should all protect the female gender for another topic that is related indeed to gender equality. So if you want to join me over here, the 3 persons I mentioned, so Erika and Valentina and Professor Lazarashvili, if you want to come to the stage in a little while, because indeed we are talking, when we are talking about venous disease, not just about lower limbs. We all know male varicocele, but we don't know that much about female varicocele. Now, in reality, chronic pelvic pain is a condition that in the UK has an incidence that is like asthma and back pain. You all know asthma, you know all back pain, but I guess many of the public representatives are not aware of this condition that has been defined indeed as a forgotten disease, that for sure has not to be forgotten because we are talking about a form of indeed gender discrimination. Consider that less than 40% of these patients are actually visited by the proper specialist, so it's our responsibility to bring awareness on this topic, and I invite you to visit the WeWin Foundation website, where you can find many educational questionnaires. Whenever you are flagging true or false, you are going to find a scientific reference, and that's the point, always showing the evidence-based data behind that. So I welcome on stage Valentina Noce, Erika Menegatti, and Zaza Lazarashvili for a comment. So I guess we will keep the mask, and one by one we'll say a word.
Thank you, Sergio. It's a huge honor to be here in Expo Padiglione Italia to present the Gender Equality and Human Rights Committee of the WeWin Foundation with such top-level professional women from all the continents of the world. working together for women empowerment, gender equality, and human rights. Particularly in this period, we know that the difficulty of the pandemic has pointed out the opportunity to develop a global synergy to protect public health and to involve both male and female gender to create a better life's condition for all. A fundamental right is the access to health care and medical treatment, also in the area of prevention, especially for people of those countries who can't access to medical care or to the proper information evidence-based. That is why, as a Gender Equality and Human Rights Committee, we teamwork for important topics such as public venous lymphatic awareness and gender medicine. In particular, we focus on pelvic venous disease involving the female population, the lymphedema, that so-called hidden epidemic, and the female varicocele, that is still an unknown pathology. While everybody knows about the male varicocele, nobody knows enough about the female varicocele. And that is why less than the half of the female population receives appropriate care. And I want to say clearly that the lack of health care is an abuse of human rights. So I want to thank this wonderful teamwork for increase the women value in every country of the world. And finally, I express my hope that effective steps will be taken to improve the living condition of the sick by ensuring that all have access to medical treatment and to the health information evidence-based, and to develop proper action for a better global life quality.
Thank you so much to our lawyer, Valentina Noce, for the so fundamental activities done indeed in the human rights activities of the Foundation. And now we go to the scientific part of the gender equality with Dr. Erika Menegatti, PhD, highly involved in all our research projects. We'll give a couple of words on the scientific aspects.
Thank you very much, Sergio, and it's it's an honor for me to be here. And I think that as a researcher that I spent all my life in this research field, we can contribute much more also for this female disease. And I think that we can contribute, find for example, standardized protocol for assess an important part of this pathology, which is a quality of life, for example. So I invite all my colleagues to find one way for assess, for example, the quality of life in this disease that involve all female patients. So thank you very much.
Now, there is always a meaning, and as I was saying, I'm wearing a special bracelet that is God protects you from the Georgian culture, that it was given to me by a stellar figure in the field, that is Professor Zaza Lazarashvili from Georgia. I was introduced to the importance of the topic in a visit we had with the Ministry of Health in Georgia for a project that started years ago, and it's a pleasure to reciprocate the invitation in such an institutional place from Italy. So welcome to Italy.
Thank you very much, Sergio. It's a great honor for me to be here, and thank you very much for this opportunity. I remember the period from the Women Foundation's meeting from Cortina to Dubai, and in case of the research on the topic, according to topic pelvic venous disorders, we've done great steps. It's a consensus document of International Union of Phlebology and also the SVP classification. But I think that one of the projects which we will done together, it's a pelvic online project, collaborated with the Vivint Foundation and Georgian Association of Angiologists and Vascular Surgeons, have had a great impact on the healthcare system of Georgia. And it was the reason that in Georgia, the Vein Week activities, 50% was according to awareness of pelvic venous disorders. Thank you for this cooperation, and thank you to all of you who are, and thank you at first the Italian Pavilion.
Now, if we talk about the forgotten disease, because it has been described long ago, this issue of the pelvic disorders for the female, there is also a hidden epidemic that we should not forget about in a pandemic time. That is the one of lymphedema. That is another form of discrimination, I would say, because many people are thinking they're just fat or have some retention. It's not like that easy to describe the condition that is actually in reality lymphedema. That is a well-known condition by experts like Professor Roxon, who will give us a word on this. Diving for a second in the topic also of the aquatic environment as per the picture. Because indeed, we have what has been defined as the white gold in Italy, the aquatic environment and the thermal environment in particular. Now, water is a sort of divinity, as we know in many countries, but we have to be really careful on how we manage this divinity. In a very, I hope, funny way, the three labradoodles are here reminding us of the importance of bringing, of course, salus per aquam, as per the term SPA, but first of all, science per aquam. Because we can indeed counteract these issues that we are discussing about today by the use of an aquatic environment that in Italy is particularly present, but as it is present in many other countries where collaboration could exist and should exist, I think. It's a simple physical law that is applied in this context, for which the pressure of the water is facilitating the venous and lymphatic return in our lower limbs. But even more, if you're talking about the thermal water, we're talking about also about the thermic properties of the water and also the chemical properties that are so richly present in our country. But of course, it cannot be just empirical. It has to be proved. And for this area, thanks again, Dr. Erika Menegatti, for the amazing job done in publishing papers to bring evidence in our Italian aquatic environment on the benefits we can provide, potentially also in terms of cost effectiveness in a time in which, indeed, the cost of health must be controlled properly. So for this, we are deeply honored in having the highest representation from Italy for the aquatic environment investigations, that is Professor Vitale from the University of Parma, and we can go with this presentation.
Thank you, Sergio, and thank you, Dr. Crescenti, for hosting us and hosting me in your pavilion, in the Italian pavilion. And thank you for the foundation to give me the possibility to present what Sergio introduced very well, science per aquam. The traditional is salus per aquam, as he said, but he converted actually in science per aquam, which is exactly what we nowadays mean and intend to do. I'm the scientific director of a unique foundation all over the world that we are proud as Italian to have it. The thermal settlements, also known as spas, but when you call it spas, then there is a little bit of confusion with wellness. What we mean by thermal settings, we indicate medical hydrology, so medical applications of natural spring waters and their mineral content. And this is why to gain evidence for the medical application of thermal water, all the Italian spas formed and constituted something like 20 years ago a foundation granting scientific research. So we are a grant agency for scientific research for our universities in this topic, and the president of the foundation is here, Dr. Costanzo Iannotti-Pecci. And I'm the scientific director, so this is why I'm here giving this very brief talk. As you can see, these are the number of the papers in the last 10 years, let's say. The percentage of incidence of papers in the different branches of medicine that are involved in thermal medicine. And you see that rheumatology is the best represented because of its inflammatory basis, basically, because many of the mineral content of the thermal waters, there are 380 officially recognized by the Ministry of Health thermal springs in Italy. And part of the cures that are done in these structures are reimbursed, partially reimbursed by the government. So we do a lot of research in this, and we use the NIH criteria, so it's very simple to select the project. These are public calls. We identify the subject of each call, and then every university or university hospital or institute of research in Italy can participate, and then we produce a ranking of the best projects presented, and we finance those well, until we finish the money that we have for that call. So we did grants in biomedical basic research, in rehabilitation medicine and ENT, for the Polytechnic University in Milan, for the technical advancement in all the spa structures, and again in water hygiene, in metabolic diseases, as examples. And these are a few of the numbers that we produced, millions of euros invested, papers published, and so on. The result of 10 years of activity is summarized in this slide, which is self-explanatory, because you can see the growth of the blue histogram. That is the scientific production that you can find in PubMed of the Italian groups, research groups in medical hydrology. We increased by 60%, 60%, and we are now pairing the Italian research production, scientific production, pairs all the rest of the world production in this sector. So just to give you an example, I don't want to give any specific scientific, but just to give a message to you. Can you see those Petri dishes there with the white dots? Those are bacteria. Those are E. coli bacteria. They grow happily. When you add neutrophils in the middle one, neutrophils, as you all know, kill bacteria. But when you pre-expose the neutrophils, isolated neutrophils from anybody's blood to hydrogen sulfide, they are activated and survive. And the effect, you can see the last one, it's completely black. Not only they survive better, but they kill all the bacteria. So there is an enhanced function, antibacterial enhanced function. Just to give you an example of what our groups of research produce. This is the effects of sulfur. Sulfurs are the main components of most thermal waters and the most biologically active. These are mice experiments. These are genetically modified mice that spontaneously generate Alzheimer's disease, a model of Alzheimer's, an accepted model of Alzheimer's disease, and there is a retardation of development and progression of the disease when exposed to thermal waters, sulfur thermal waters. This is an example for osteoporosis. These biologically active ions basically inhibit osteoclast action and promote osteoblast action, which is essential in osteoporosis, and you mentioned women and postmenopausal problems. We did some consensus studies that in particular for the application of thermal medicine and spa medicine, medical hydrology in musculoskeletal diseases, the use of MUDs and the use of saline baths and at low buoyant density. Many types of thermal or spa waters are particularly active on the respiratory system. This is an overview of the effects that they produce, and these are preventive effects, not only therapeutic effects, but also preventive effects, because remember that medical hydrotherapy is almost void of contraindications. There are very few contraindications and almost zero collateral effects. And this is a recent paper that we produced. We demonstrated, we were working on COVID infection, because everybody is working on COVID infection, of course. And exposure, we demonstrated and published a couple of months ago that the inhalation of sulfur-rich waters, so the exposure of epithelial respiratory cells to sulfurs, inhibits the expression of one of the receptor proteins for the virus. So we are doing a clinical trial now, trying to demonstrate that the virus does not enter into the cell of the respiratory tract after exposure to sulfur waters, which is quite a good thing. And then some waters, some different types of waters rich of sulfides can be drunk. And this is a very, very recent, it's 2 weeks, paper in which hydropinotherapy, which means drinking mineral waters, biologically active mineral waters, is effective in the control of glycemia in type 2 diabetes, which is another very important issue in public health. And finally, all this and all the rest that I didn't show you, but these were just samples, all this attracted the attention of the WHO, the World Health Organization, and in fact, we have a representative inside the World Health Organization, and they gave us the privilege to, after this authored study that we produced under the control of WHO, they put the medical hydrology as one of their ending points in this further decade. So we're very satisfied of this. And for the venous thrombosis, we discussed it this morning, the applications of medical hydrology to the venous and lymphedema therapy is quite large, but now is still suffering of some lack of studies in recent collaboration between our foundation and Sergio's group. He was able to demonstrate with a series, 3 papers that his group already published, the advantages of venous return and reduction in lymphedema in the lower limb. I can add to this that for the upper limb after mastectomy, as I mentioned this morning, the lymphedema is highly cured by medical hydrotherapy. So I believe that the Italian government makes a very good thing recognizing medical hydrology in its nomenclature and in its reimbursement. And we really hope that this recognition will produce more scientific, more activity at the thermal medical spas, and more productivity by our foundation, possibly in collaboration with yours. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And in this navigation into the aquatic environment that is addressed indeed to the hidden epidemic of lymphedema, we have a huge captain in the person of Professor Stanley Roxon, who is joining us from Stanford. And I'd really like to welcome him on stage for some remarks on the importance of this hidden epidemic and of making it not hidden anymore. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sergio. I want to express my appreciation to all of the leadership of the foundation here on the stage, most especially to Professor Giannassini, who has been kind enough to collaborate with me over the years and invite me into his projects. And I want to especially express my thanks that the field that I represent, namely lymphatics and lymphedema, are now included in the mission of the foundation. I think it's a very, very important step and one that I certainly highly endorse. Now, it's no accident, really, that we should be talking about the lymphatics in the context of a foundation primarily devoted to veins and vein disease, because the veins and the lymphatics are, throughout life, intimate partners in the jobs that they need to do. In fact, embryologically speaking, the lymphatics are derived from the veins, and this happens very early in developmental life, and thereafter the lymphatics and the veins cooperate in maintaining a normal fluid environment within the tissues. It is perhaps less well recognized that the lymphatics are also part of the immune system, and perhaps of equal importance to their role in circulatory dynamics, so that in order to support immune function and allow the immune system to fight off pathogens, we need an intact lymphatic circulation. So we have to not only protect our internal environment from the outside, but also in order to allow the circulatory function of the veins to occur, we need the lymphatics as well. Without the lymphatics, the circulation would collapse within about 24 hours. So, with that in mind, it's also important to recognize that there is a broad spectrum of human disease that is related to malformation or malfunction or injury to the lymphatic system. Now, thankfully, we're not talking about enhanced mortality quite to the degree that we are in the venous world with venous thrombosis and pulmonary embolism. However, lymphatic disease and lymphedema in particular is a source of great morbidity. You already heard that 250 million people around the world have this disease. It is a source of health economic resources and expenditures. For example, in the United States, a breast cancer patient who develops lymphedema will cost the healthcare environment an additional $12,000 per year beyond what that same breast cancer patient would cost in the absence of lymphedema. Patients who have lymphedema frequently develop soft tissue infections because of the immune dysfunction, and this is a source of tremendous utilization of healthcare resources, pharmacy, physician time, and emergency rooms, hospitals, and so on. We need to do a better job with controlling this. I want to endorse the notion that we also need to protect the health of women. Unfortunately, the medical textbooks are predominantly or almost exclusively written by men about diseases of men, and we need to rectify this problem. When we talk about lymphedema, we're talking about a female-predominated condition. Even the hereditary forms of lymphedema that are not sex-linked nevertheless affect predominantly females. And this goes across the spectrum of most of the disorders that predispose to lymphedema. So clearly, we need to do a better job with the diseases themselves. We need to have much more sophisticated interventions for imaging, for therapeutics, for diagnosis, for surveillance, for prevention. But equal to all of that, we need to have resources for the patient community, information that they can believe in, a route to finding the answers to the questions, and the specialists and the resources that are available to deal with their needs in a meaningful way. So the projects of this foundation are crucial and certainly will be well rewarded within the subset of lymphedema and lymphatic diseases. So thank you once again.
Thank you so much, and now it's time to have our host having eventually a comment, if you like, to give a feedback on the feeling you can have following these talks. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming. It's a great pleasure and honor to have you here. I just want to take you off a bit the academic discussion, because it's not my field for sure. I just want to mention to you how much your discussion today falls within the framework of Expo that we have been listening and witnessing in the last 3.5, 4 months. And as you said, Professor Giannazzini, the team Connecting Minds, Creating the Future perfectly sums up the spirit of today's event in gathering most renowned experts from all over the continents, and with the aim to share scientific and medical knowledge for informing patients. So you are right in the core of the discussion that we have witnessed and followed through Expo from the beginning. The second issue is that we have been discussing on several fronts, actually, almost every week since we began the Expo this year, is the open data issue. The open data new approach, which can improve scientific collaboration, reaching research, and advancing analytical capability to inform patient decisions. Open data has been a permanent issue in discussion here. And it's, if I may say so, is the strategic component of all the debates that I have followed and I attended to in Expo, with one major fallout of these discussions, that the open data approach discussed, by the way, in this Expo, in the midst of an area that is generating an enormous amount of data. We are sitting in an area, I always mention, 5 hours flight from Dubai. We have 3 billion people, 3,200,000,000 people living, average age 29. This is an area of the world that is generating an impressive amount of data, and the open data approach requires, this is my feeling after many discussions, a profound cultural change. Meaning that simply, as I heard it, debates after debates, the database is not anymore a restricted intellectual property, but it's becoming a common good. And this is profoundly changed the discussion, the debate, the public opinion, reaction to every time we discuss big data, artificial intelligence, data analysis, and so forth. Especially now that we are witnessing discussion pointing out the huge gap between the generation of new data and the capability of analysis of data, capturing the consequences of this data analysis that is trying to catch up every day with the new data being created. I've been also the women issue has come across the entire discussion in Expo from the beginning on several fronts. And certainly this week, the Health Week, this is the week that Expo is dedicated to health and wellness. The gender medicine is a core anchor theme of discussion. And I understand, if I understand well, Professor Gianesini, I understand well how the generation of enormous amount of data and the consequence of having to catch up with data analysis capability creates an opportunity which cannot be missed of personalizing medicine and therapies in a way that require, for sure, a new gender approach, where women are to be put in the framework of this discussion and the progress that is going to make. So I just want to thank you for coming, thank you for having this discussion, this contributing to a much broader debate. I can promise you that we have been witnessing from the beginning, for example, during the Space Week. You can imagine how much we debated the issue of data, big data, cloud, during the Space Week, and so forth and so forth. Every week we had this discussion, and I think that you are contributing enormously to pinpointing what are the issues that we need to address, and what are the fantastic, amazing opportunities that the cloud, the big cloud flying on this sky, out of the sky, creates and promises to generate for us. It's really an historic moment, and your debate and your contribution is a very important one for us and for the Italian Pavilion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much again for the honor of being here. I mean, really all the efforts we've done worthy being here virtually in Italy, but in reality also in Dubai, for which another host we have to invite on stage is, of course, Professor Dina Al-Khedr. If you'd like to join us on stage, also on behalf of Dr. Younes Kazim, who joined us this morning, because indeed we are deeply grateful to the Emirates Vascular Surgery Society and Dubai Health Authority for the collaboration.
Good evening, everybody. It's our great pleasure to be here among you. First of all of you are in your second country, UAE, and I'm now at the Italian Pavilion as the host. So it was our great pleasure to spend those 3 days. They passed very fast with big efforts. I congratulate all the panel for the great efforts and great achievement for such an event which happened in Dubai, in conjunction with the great international expo, which falls at the same time. We thank the Italian Pavilion to allow us to have this event here this evening, and I look forward to have more collaboration and cooperation with the Italian Society and the Vascular Society everywhere. Thank you very much.
We now fly virtually to Switzerland with Dr. Sherian Mina. She's in representation formerly of World Health Organization, now Geneva Foundation for Medical Education and Research. So we will now have a video message from Mina Sherian.
Greetings to all delegates participating in this WIMEN International meeting. You scientists have gathered on this global platform to share your expertise on venous and lymphatic disorders. I'm sure you enjoyed all the interesting scientific sessions by exchanging and updating your knowledge and sharing experiences from various parts of the world. The interactive session with your colleagues and experts, particularly on fake news about venous lymphatic disorders, would have been very powerful and interesting. During the COVID-19 pandemic, it has become even more obvious that fake news travels faster than scientific facts due to several reasons. For example, it's easy to understand language, it's attractive, and the fast mode of communication delivery. Therefore, I would like to highlight the importance of global collaboration to provide an evidence-based venous lymphatic education to all communities, including media, to combat fake news. We need to engage all institutions and communities, including patient communities and media, and reach out globally to all interested in people's health. This is the right time, at the right global platform, with your right experience and scientific knowledge to engage with the global community by strengthening this global collaboration of institutions for a fake news-free environment on venous lymphatic education. Thank you.
And it's us deeply thanking Dr. Mina Sherian for the institutional involvement, because indeed we are having a Authorities Roundtable, because it is fundamental to reach to the patients, but without the proper institution support, it won't be so loud that we are able to deliver this message. And indeed, I couldn't be more honored than introducing now the video message of Dr. Giampiero Massolo, who is in representation of the Institution for International Studies in Politics, and he's really been fundamental in this project, for which I deeply thank him profoundly for the help. Please play the video.
Mr. Chairman Gianesini, dear friends, scientists, doctors, experts, it is great pleasure for me to greet you today at your gathering on phleble lymphology. My name is Giampiero Massolo. I'm in charge of leading the campaign for bringing to Rome Expo in 2030. And I'm also president of the Italian Institute for International Political Studies. I am very pleased because actually all it's going on in Dubai in the field, the challenging field of connecting minds, connecting experts, connecting people with knowledge is of outstanding importance for the future of our planet, for the future of our Earth, of Mother Earth. And in fact, in the sector where you are dealing, where you are actually studying and investigating, which is healthcare at the highest possible level, the events that we were passing through during those last 2 years very clearly showed how important it is to join efforts, because, as we say, nobody can really be saved, and it is true for nations as well as for individuals by himself. So I wish to warmly congratulate you on your endeavor, and I wish also to make a strong bid for uniting forces in this field. It is very outstanding, important field of joining efforts, joint minds, joint expertships, and joint actually managerial skills. This is also about how we are organizing our campaign for bringing to Rome Expo in 2030. It will be about human development, about urban regeneration, about connecting people and territories, and we really count on experts. We count on you in order to help us mobilize to bring this outstanding event to Rome. For now, I wish you good works, actually profitable debates, and I'm very sorry not to be able to attend personally, but this is outstanding importance for me to have this opportunity to greet you all. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Giannazzini. Thank you to all of you, and really warm wishes of success. Thank you.
We deeply thank Dr. Massol, and while we are preparing the video of another authority, Dr. Manlio Di Stefano from the Foreign Affairs Ministry, we just say that on the road leads to Rome. So let's hope this will be the case also for 2030. So please play the video.
Distinguished participants, I'm very pleased to be here today to join the 10th edition of the International Inter-University Meeting in Phlebology, Lymphology and Aesthetics organized by the Bhuwen Foundation in Dubai, and feel honored to be involved in such an important and ambitious project. The global pandemic, which we have been fighting in the last 2 years, has shown how medical misinformation can have immediate and serious consequences on people's health. Indeed, fake news on vaccine effectiveness and safety are creating vaccine distrust within societies, thereby damaging our national health systems and contributing to countless and inevitable deaths. In order to tackle this challenge, Italy is strongly committed in encouraging the dissemination of reliable data and, more in general, to promoting public health at a global level. In this respect, it is worth highlighting that Italy is one of the most advanced countries in the health sector and the second healthiest country in the world, according to the Bloomberg Global Health Index 2021. I would also like to provide some significant data concerning the performance of our life science industry. Indeed, Italy is a leading producer of pharmaceutical products within the European Union and the first EU member state in terms of export growth in this sector. In particular, in the last 5 years, our country's cumulative export growth in the pharmaceutical sector amounted to 73% higher than the European average and more significantly than Germany, France, and Spain. In addition, despite the pandemic and its negative economic repercussions, in 2020 our exports of pharmaceutical products increased by 3.8%. This witnesses the vitality and the resilience of the Italian industry in the mentioned sector. We are extremely confident that in the next few years these trends will consolidate and further strengthen. Let me also take this opportunity to recall Italy's commitment in the health sector, as shown by the prominent dedicated space at the ongoing Expo Dubai 2020. In this framework, last October, Italy took part in the United Nations event, Decade of Action on Nutrition, aimed at stressing the importance of healthy eating based on the principles of the Mediterranean diet, and at promoting a healthy style and sustainable food habits. Moreover, during the first quarter of Expo Dubai 2020, Italy has offered a rich schedule of workshop-like training events promoted by Italian universities with laboratory activities for proactively engaging in all participants and educational courses of scientific, cultural, and societal interest. These are just a few examples of our wider strategy aiming to promote health and well-being at the international level. Among the major actions undertaken by our country, I would especially like to recall the Global Health Summit organized by the Italian G20 presidency in the partnership with the European Commission. This event has represented a concrete opportunity for national leaders, heads of international and regional organizations, and representatives of global health institutions to share the lessons learned from COVID-19 and to get ready for future pandemics. To conclude, I would like to express once again my personal appreciation for these relevant initiatives in the firm belief that it will constitute an important step in the global fight against misinformation. I thank you for your attention.
And again, we deeply thank the highest institutions involved, but indeed, if we are in the vascular world, our authority, our institutions is the one we are bringing in our heart and in our T-shirt in this moment. That is Professor Caprini message. So please play the video from Chicago University, Professor Caprini. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. What we have seen today is indeed an epic event, one of which I have not really experienced in over 50 years of being in the medical field. First of all, the VWIN Foundation has put on a production which could be said to be the post-pandemic form of education. But what's really unique is the worldwide participation, all-inclusiveness, and discussion and counterpoint. I'll get back to that in a minute, but let me start with one example. It's impossible to summarize everything that went on, so I'm going to talk about one issue. The number one preventable cause of death after surgery, and that is fatal pulmonary emboli. We have the data in over 50 years of study. We have the risk assessment, for example, my tool, but there are others, to know how to risk assessment people. And if we give people the right anticoagulants for the right period of time, 99% of deaths can be prevented worldwide. This is a worldwide call to action, appealing to all societies and organizations. And what we have just experienced is, for example, 5 continents are involved. And in each continent, there are presentations. And following the presentations, there are commentaries from other countries and other locations so that you get different perspectives on what's going on within various countries and various regions and how that may differ from other regions. And many times you'll learn some things that you never really knew existed because they've been tested in other countries. So that's one thing, is on the doctor level. But the other thing is listen to all of the fake news that's out there that's being flooded with the public. Press releases and stuff, sensational things, trying to get viewers and so on and so forth. Part of this massive program is to present good data for the patients, including publications that will give patients the proper perspective and good data. And that is absolutely critical to this whole process because you have to have buy-in. If you don't have buy-in, then nothing good happens. For example, before we had seatbelts, when somebody was saying, well, seatbelts can save lives, just clip them in. Well, it took a while. People were saying, I don't want my personal rights violated. But after a while, people said, oh, my God, look at all the lives it's saving. The same thing here. And by getting the buy-in of people all around the world and engaging societies is important. And this is covering the broad range of venous disease, blood clots in the legs, the lungs, blood clots to the brain, arms, abdomen, lymphatic societies, leg swelling, pain, tenderness, and so forth. And all of these things have been discussed. I've never seen a program like this, and I would now appeal to all governments, universities, institutions, World Health Organization, and any other interested worldwide parties. And of course, oh, did I forget, this involves 70 societies. So we have a massive program here and a massive way to get out data. And if we did that just with this one thing, we could save hundreds of thousands of lives every year. So I'm indebted to the VWIN Foundation and the organizers, and I hope that everybody had a wonderful time in Dubai. But I also hope that this challenge will be picked up as a call to action for a worldwide massive campaign that everybody buys into, joining hands, governments joining hands. What a nice way to have governments joining hands instead of the usual stuff that we hear about. And also institutions and societies, 70 societies, World Health Organization, and so forth. So again, thank you very much for the privilege of presenting this. And I hope you all take this to heart and have a great day.
With this, we deeply thank Professor Caprini. We are now at the end of our time, so we'll ask the ones who started everything, and we were blessed by the opening at that time of Dr. Noce. So if Dr. Noce wants to have a brief 1-minute comment on stage, and then we will close with Professor Chi and Professor Bottini, as always.
Okay, non vuoi. Credo che siamo tutti consapevoli dei danni alla salute che portano le fake news in tutti i campi, sia in campo flebologico in tutti i campi.
We are all aware of all the consequences on venous and lymphatic system.
Una volta le fake news erano limitate da una certa narrazione orale, perché ci sono sempre state, o limitate a qualche testo di storia.
Once there was just by text, fake news, rather than by word communication.
Oggi con internet e soprattutto con i social il fenomeno è veramente imploso.
Now, of course, it has been exponentially amplified by.
E dietro molto spesso ci sono anche interessi economici poco chiari.
And there is also economic interest behind.
Allora, come fare per difendersi e per difendere i cittadini, le persone che non sono esperte in questi campi?
How can we protect this public that we are addressing to?
Allora, in Italia abbiamo creato un detto: stai nella rete ma senza cadere nella rete.
So be in the net but without falling into the net.
E abbiamo creato un sito a livello di ordini dei medici italiani, si chiama il sito Dottore, ma è vero che?
So with the Italian Board of Physicians we created a website that is saying, Doctor, is it true that?
Dove qualsiasi persona, qualsiasi cittadino si può rivolgersi per avere una risposta al proprio quesito e troverà un pool di esperti che risponderà a quanto richiesto.
Where whoever can write eventual questions.
E con questo crediamo di aver svolto un buon compito per proteggere le persone e i nostri concittadini. Grazie veramente.
And with this, on behalf of the Italian Board of Physicians, Dr. Noce wishes they did a good job, that indeed did. Thank you so much. Now, the time is over, but not before having on stage Professor Chi and Professor Bottini for a final remark, since everything started together with them.
Thank you all for coming. I only have a few conclusion words. The message I got from both the VUN Foundation, then the purpose of VUN Foundation, and all the participants from 5 continents is connecting minds and building a future, not a future for us as physicians, but a brighter future for, more importantly, our patients. Thank you.
In this short time, it's important to say, in this moment of the history, that the work in our family realize with an important balance entre men and women in this family is very important. Also, is a pleasure to me. I was born in Argentina, but I'm Italian too. Then it's important stay here with us. Thank you all.
So, with this, 2 years of journey ends, and it does not end without remembering that in life it's not just where you're going, but also whom you're traveling with. So I like to deeply thank all the huge experts that are here. Unfortunately, it was supposed to be with 100 and more, but that's COVID. But thanks to the difficulty of the pandemic, we have the opportunity of the online, and there's so many that are following us. I invite you to visit this amazing pavilion. You will find wonders in it, as I invite you to visit your own country's pavilion, as I like to invite all of you to start a new journey that will go on the way to Rome, on the roads lead there. So let's hope it will be like this for 2030 Expo. Thank you so much.